Now the truck was listed for 1,500 American dollars, and things just escalated from there. All right, this escalated quickly. We got a deal on that truck, on that trailer, another trailer, and a bunch of truck parts. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Between the Sharks. Behind me is the cheapest square body from Facebook Marketplace. It's a 1974, and outside of that, I know very little about it. This thing has been off the road for over 10 years, and I need to get it into service right now. Now the truck was listed for 1,500 American dollars. So I'm gonna read the ad to you guys because it got me scurrying out of bed this morning. Ready? 1974 Chevy pickup, Corvette engine. Sure, okay. Hydraulic dump bed. Wait a minute, now you really got my attention. Replacement fenders, hood, bed, and doors included. Truck runs. No. New Edelbrock 4-barrel and a rebuilt transmission. Inconceivable. So I basically asked one question: does the dump bed work? And he said, yeah. And I said, I'm on my way. And I figured if even half of the other stuff was true, we were gonna be in business. So I got up there, the dump bed worked. It kind of starts, but doesn't really want to stay running. And the other parts were there with it. And things just escalated from there. We are far from home. On our way to go look at the cheapest square body on Marketplace or Craigslist. Kind of have a deal on it sight unseen. We're about to get there. I don't know if the guy's gonna be cool with filming, but we'll find out. All right, this escalated quickly. We got a deal on that truck, on that trailer, another trailer, and a bunch of truck parts. I don't know what I've just done. It's either awesome or I've made a massive mistake. But it's happening real fast, so we'll see you at the ranch, I think. Holy Moses. Because it turns out the man had a little farm trailer also for sale, which is now here. And then they escalated even more from there. Man says he's got 2 car trailers for sale. They're right there in the yard. I said, huh, well, okay. So before I know it, he turns to me and he says, you know what? I can help you haul it down there. And that's how I ended up with no money and all of this pretty good junk. Now the truck was listed for 1,500 American dollars, but at this point we've got so much car guy math involved that I'm not really sure what I paid for anything, but we'll break that down before the end of the video. This thing has been off the road for over 10 years and I need to get it into service right now. We got a lot to do and I'm counting on this thing and the big rack and the dump bed to do it. So let's dive in and see what we actually got, because honestly, with the price and all the other stuff and the package deal and the offer to help me get it back here, I didn't look that hard at it. I just said, okay, if half that stuff's true, we can deal with the other half. So let's take a look. She seems to have a little rust here and there, but nothing that's gonna make me worry considering our plans for this are to put it to work. Driver's door seems okay, although that's a little, good news is it's got vent windows, bad news is it's broken. I actually tried to weld these things before. It becomes quite a mess. We will still try again. Somebody took the drip rail off. If I'd noticed that, that would have been a deal breaker. Come on, America. I feel like drip rails are a necessary feature for a classic car. Foul. We'll fix that if we can. It's going to become a priority in ways it should not. Back here, the bed sides are actually really straight. In fact, this whole side is really straight. Definitely has its rot. It's growing some moss right there. Yeah, those tires are totally shot. Cab corners are not great, but not terrible. Little door bubble, rocker rust. So in the Southeast, that kind of rust happens mostly from them sitting in tall grass. Wow, that thing has been sitting a while. Super into this custom ladder rack, but you can tell this side was probably facing north. I'll bet the other side doesn't have nearly the barnacles that this one does. Obviously homemade, but it's square steel and angle iron. It's been hammered a little bit, but we can fix that. Tailgate's got a little whoop-de-doo. Got a ball hitch, there you go. 2014, the last time it was registered. Hadn't tried that yet. Not unimpressed actually with that. Got a little rot in the bed. Again, it's not really terrible. My other C10, the bed's completely gone. There's a piece of diamond plate in it, so you can live without a decent bed. Yeah, we're gonna see if we can fix this whole contraption here. It does have some barnacles, so maybe she was in a shady spot for a long time. Tail lights are broken. This side is decidedly less straight. Somebody might have wandered off the road just a little bit. Hooked this door on something. Maybe they opened it too far. Maybe we were backing up at the gas pump, because that's where the... I'm not gonna cry about it. We could fix it. That may pop out, or we got a whole other bed if we wanted to, which we don't want to, but we could if we did, you know. Well, yeah, I did point out, because of the dump bed, the fuel putter inner has been relocated to under this fender, so you actually have to lift the bed to give it gas. Well, it's got dual exhaust. I think they did from the factory, but I don't know well enough, so that's kind of nice. This tire is shot. Fender's got a little whoop-de-doo. We'll just call it character. Fortunately for us though, the windshield is in one piece, which is a money-saving bonus. Yeah. Okay. Not sure what we got going on here. It's moving a lot though. So either maybe the whole hinge is worn out or it's the hinge pin, but I guess we can jam it back into shape. Oh, hey, look, that's good news. Didn't actually notice this. It's the other vent window. Suffering from the same ailment though. It's broken itself free of its mooring here and up here. That's it. There's some 74 C10 AC. Whoa, okay. I'm glad that those guys aren't currently living. It's a lot of Hornets. Interesting. Not really sure what we got going on here. We'll just call it custom. Ugh. Ugh. Can't really. Ooh, the bottom of the door is super crusty. Huh, has door panels. That's actually kind of neat. I'm missing them on my Blazer, and they're a little harder to find than you would imagine. Another spare hubcap. I got a ton of those laying around. Oh, free Sawzall blade. How bad are you? You know what? We're just going to assume that it's good under there. We've got a little bit of a drain hole happening over on that side, but this side we're just going to pretend is A-okay for now. So about this side, well, hell, that's unusual. In my experience with the old trucks, the driver's doors are really sloppy because they're the ones that get opened all the time. She's, okay. I mean, well, it could be worse. Nothing we can't fix if we so choose. Got a little more of it back there. It's all right. It's not going to stop the truck from doing what we need it to do. Dashboard is very cracked. Nothing a little Cheech and Chong shag carpet won't fix. Okay, that's actually kind of nice. I didn't know if they had a headliner or what, but nope. Steel roof with these neat little indentations. So that's actually kind of a cool feature and cool stamping. From what I can see of the rest of this bed, it's in much better shape than I would have expected. In the Southeast, if you let these beds sit full of wet leaves year after year after year after year, they find their own way to drain, and they drain everywhere. Like, these beds just kind of disappear, and that's only because of leaves. It's not Saul, this kind of jungle in this kind of climate, and stuff can stay wet for a long time because it does not freeze around here. So I'm actually very happy with this. And guys, I didn't even show you the coolest part yet. So am I a genius for buying this truck or a complete idiot? How about now, you know?
You're a goddamn genius!
But back here, we can inspect the frame. It's actually pretty good. The bed's got a tiny bit of rot. This is very Bubba homemade, it seems like. But it does have grease fittings in it, which is kind of nice, so we should grease it. This hydraulic cylinder seems to be working pretty well, not really leaking. And this is an electric hydraulic motor, not a PTO. So that's pretty awesome. It works on the brand new battery. So with that height up there, I saw not only the potential to dump a bunch of stuff, but also to help lift a bunch of stuff onto roofs because we got a lot of roofing to replace. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's get back at it. So Corvette engine, the man says.
Ain't gonna be no Hemi.
That's what the guy that he bought it from told him. The mechanic thought it was a 305. Never heard of a Corvette getting a 305, but maybe they did. I don't know. Let's have a look-see. Okay. Oh, that's cool. So the original jack is still in place. Dude actually went out and bought a brand new battery. It looks kind of like an Edelbrock, but it kind of doesn't look like an Edelbrock. You know what I'm saying? Let's take a look in here. Oh, there it is. It says 1406. Okay. It's got one of these fire starter fuel filters, so we'll replace that very soon. These things are terrible. Unless it is, you know, an insurance claim that you're after, because they crack like crazy. It's not just clear ones. It's like these speed ones with the replaceable filter. They're bad news. All right, we got some rodent nests going on in here. I guess I'm not shocked about that either. All right, we've got some kind of O2 sensor in this exhaust. These gauges are fogged up really bad, so I cannot see the mileage. Not that it makes any difference, because we know the engine is not original to the truck. It does have an Edelbrock intake. That's kind of nice. No. It's actually full. We're gonna have to try that out. Why on earth would there be windshield wiper fluid in this truck? All right, the engine's got me a little suspicious at this point. First of all, we got O2 sensors in the exhaust. Second of all, we're missing a dipstick, which means we're gonna find it over here somewhere. There it is. I don't know when sensors in the header started, but I know that the dipstick changed sides sometime, I think in the late 70s. Well, it's got oil in it. It's got some viscosity. It's not terrible, but we'll need to change that soon. While we're over here. I mean, that is bright red and clean. He did say it was rebuilt. Story I got was he drove it home, transmission went out, so he went and got the transmission rebuilt, which he provided me a receipt for. We'll take a look at that sooner than later. And then he said he never drove it, just sat. So this has some serious Bubba wiring. Holy mackerel. Okay, on these trucks, this is a main breaker. So the power goes to the starter, and from the starter, it comes up to here, and then it splits off into the fuse panel and everything else. I know that because on the Blazer one day, one of those little eye connections actually broke right off, leaving me very confused for about an hour and a half until I discovered exactly where my connection was missing by going in all the wrong directions first. So we got power steering and manual brakes. That master cylinder looks pretty new. I was gonna say, I feel like there should be a proportioning valve, and then my brain went to Blazers, and the valves on the 74s are actually down here on the front cross member. I can't remember if they're true proportioning valves or if they're just distribution blocks. I genuinely don't know. I think they're proportioning valves, which means we might be in good shape if we can just jam a power booster on this, find a vacuum source, which there should be one right on the back of the carburetor, and we have instant power brakes, instant to the tune of 100 American dollars for the booster. Let's take a look in here and see what we got, because this does look new. Okay, hang on, screwdriver. It's getting a little bit darker than it should be at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We've had some crazy storms today. In fact, the whole journey back was a frightening adventure. That's super clean. That's super clean, so I don't know. I don't know if this was done recently or if we should just flush the fluid. It's occurring to me now, before I climb back there and try to get that engine number, never even checked the glove box to see what we can learn, if there's anything to learn. Oof. Good gravy. That smells very much of rat pee and more hornets, but hornets don't really smell. But that's very pungent. In fact, now I'm seeing rat poo down there. It's definitely been worse, but they were hanging out. They were hanging out in here for sure. Let's see what we got going on. Oof. Look at this. That is all rat poop. Smells like it too. Got a headlamp we're never gonna put on our heads. Oh, battery terminals. I hate these, but sometimes you gotta have them. Spare cigarette lighter thingamadoodle. Actual cigarette lighter thingamadoodle. Flashlight from the before times, around when there were dinosaurs. So this is the last registration card. I'm not going to show you because it's got people's names on it, but it's still in there. That's interesting. Definitely registered as a 74. Color is tan. That's not accurate anymore. I mean, it could be worse, but somebody's definitely cleaned out the poo from everywhere but here. The thing is, like, what I want to get to is right in here. Oh, it's so gross. Oh, it's so gross. Alright, we're gonna need new gloves here in a second, and I can't really touch the camera. Oh man, that is all poop. All poop. Don't know what that is. Radiator stop leak. Uh-oh. That's a bad sign. Anyway, what do we got in here besides poop? We have a fleet side pickup box. Inline 6, 250 cubic inch engine. Okay. Standard vinyl trim, solid color paint with the paint code 528. You know what the 528 paint code is? Let me know in the comments. I'm wondering if it's the tan listed on the insurance or if this was always a white truck. And that is indeed tan. And that does seem like a line for a respray. And clearly the white on the... Huh, okay. I bet this truck was indeed... Oh yeah, it was tan. Okay, look. Right there. Oh, it smells so bad in here. Interim equipment change, HD rear springs, turbo hydromatic, gauges, amp oil temperature, trim combination. All right, there's a VIN number with base 1315. If that means something, you can throw it in the comments because I actually don't know a lot about it. I'm gonna go change my gloves because woof, and we'll deal with actually cleaning this out later. That's a lot of poop. But I am glad to not have found the pooper still residing in the glove box. Yeah, I've never noticed this before, or this is something I've never seen before. So that is a Magneti Marelli stamping on the bowl on a 1406 carb. So I know there's a history with Edelbrock and Magneti Marelli and Weber and all that stuff, but I don't know a lot about it. So if you know something about it, put it in the comments because I would like to learn. Also notice while I'm in here the kickdown cable. So I believe this should be here, for the Turbo 350 that I believe is in this thing, is not hooked up. You guys can hear the angels bowling, so I'm gonna try to climb myself in there and see if I can get the number off the back of the engine. Let's see, another clue. I'm not seeing a timing mark, which is my least favorite game to play, but I'm getting very good at it. All right, so we got the timing mark straight up and down here. Definitely starting to believe this is a late 70s, early 80s engine. Timing mark straight down, dipstick on the wrong side, and no center punch valve cover, so it's earlier in the 80s for sure. I'm not mad at it. I'm just trying to figure out what it indeed is. I do hate the timing marks there because they're just, but on this one I can actually do it, which is kind of interesting. I do like these water necks though. I like them because you can jam a thermostat in there. These are harder to come by than they should be because it's always good to have an extra temperature sensor to know what the coolant is coming out of the head, in my humble opinion. So where is the current coolant temp sensor? Where is there one? Sometimes they're tucked in on the head under the exhaust, but I'm sure there's a port there, but it doesn't seem to be getting used. Okay. Well, I guess we'll be adding one right about there. This is the other place they commonly go. If you're not sure what's going on, put one in both places and you'll see the before and after thermostat temperatures. All right. How do I get back there to that casting number? Yep, this is fine. This is super good. Oh god. I've been carrying that Woobin flashlight around for like a week. and I finally had to put it on the charger, and I wish I had it. I can't see nothing. I can't see nothing. This really hurts. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Well, this isn't any better. Oh, can I see anything? All right, after that under hood ballet, I'm thinking about trying out for Swan Lake, but I got it. 14010201. Right, okay. Early 80s 305. Not surprised, not even mad about it. So long as we can get it to run all right, we can do a lot of work with that. There was a 305 in the van that had basically no rings, and it drove across the country. So I'm not scared of these engines whatsoever, and that was a 79. But the ringing is here. Come on. This is kiboshing our adventure a little bit today. Guys, the mosquitoes are out of control because of this weather. I can't help it, that thing is cool looking, but the skies are about to open up. So I gotta see if I can get this unhooked, possibly get this out of here. So when I was driving this rig back, I mean, we were up north, and North Georgia gets real hilly. It's the foothills of the Appalachians and all that stuff. So driving sideways rain, this thing, we'll consider it fully loaded because it has a 230 cubic inch inline six out of a car, like a 66 Nova. So she did good, you know, but she was not pulling a hill with this much weight in third gear. So we were in second gear going up all the hills, which meant we were maxed out at like 40 miles an hour. So quite a ride. Anyway, just give us a little more time. I had to do an emergency ball hitch swap. This was an 1 7/8. We're off center here, but we made it home. We made it home. It's actually a pretty well balanced load. I'm glad it didn't just roll forward and kill me though. Let's just get her down. Guy threw in this super cool seat. I wish it was in better shape, but it's not. She's all torn up, but that's really neat. I've never seen that. So if you know what that's from, this tailgate is actually in pretty decent shape. Wait a minute. Is that a drip rail? No. Okay. Something else. This feels dangerous. Come on. Come on. Come on. All right. Perfect. And these scratches right here are from that time I went and bought a 74 C10 on a lark, and it came with all this extra C10. Yeah, character, baby. Look at this, my footprint is just full of water. Crazy. Can this old C10 get out of the mud in its two-wheel drive, lowered, kinda, you know, definitely road tire state? It's been raining for a week. That's right, all 230 cubic inches we're getting some of that one wheel peel love.
Yuck, them spinning tires, dude!
So dumb. Gang, we have definitely leveled up on the Sanford and Son scale by at least 2 points today. This could be bad. This could be bad. There's a lot of room to fill with junk, you know what I'm saying? And like, we pre-got junk. Gang, the mosquitoes are plentiful and ravenous, and they're showing up in hordes. So I may have to ride the lawnmower around here and see if I can just mess up their day a little bit, because it's awful. It's been sitting, so I can smell the fuel. It's bad, like it's really bad. It smells like varnish and all that stuff. It did fire up. It tried to get onto the trailer itself, but it wouldn't do it. It just kept stalling. So we'll see if it'll run today or run better. I haven't really looked at the trailer much. We'll dig into it in a minute. I think it's 16 feet. I didn't even measure it, honestly. But it did come with this winch and this battery, and that's how we got the truck onto the thing. And then in the rain, I ended up just putting it in neutral and rolling it back. We didn't even put the ramps down. It just, you know, it just made its way off. So that truck is easy to justify as an investment to help me on this property endeavor. This is gonna cause me trouble. All right, team, I got the fire extinguisher out of the van just because I don't want to burn this thing to the ground just yet. But I do want to see if it'll run. It's easy enough to see in here that, you know, the wiring has seen better days. I've seen worse, obviously. Well, that fell over since last night. Great. That's never good, but we already saw that. And these things are super, super dangerous. So there's no fuel in that now. I wonder what that means. Guess we'll find out if the fuel pump works here in a jiffy. Oh God, I should not have left that glove box door open. Oh, jeez. It did not smell as much of mice yesterday. All right, here we go. It's doing it. It's doing the thing. Whoa. Ruh-roh. What is that? I don't even know. It's my mosquito fogger though. Take that, mosquitoes. Alright, so we got a significant exhaust leak over here. Oh God, it smells of really bad fuel. But it's idling. It's actually running kind of okay. Like kind of. It's smoky though. I don't like that. Maybe it'll come around. I don't know. Definitely smells like burning oil. But it's running, which is remarkable. It's idling even. Alright, that's not terrible. It's not great, but I have no idea what the timing is. I don't know what's going on, and it's running on ancient fuel. But that's not death. Alright, I can tell you right now the timing is off. So two things I just learned. One, I put in the vacuum gauge to the manifold port on the carburetor. On an Edelbrock, that's this guy right here. It's running better with more timing because when the vacuum advance is getting its vacuum from the manifold source, it's getting advance at idle. And it's running happier than if I do that. So it needs timing, step one. There you go. Don't even need a timing light to tell you that. That's good because these are a pain in the butt to time because of where the timing mark is straight down on the top. Definitely a call sign of an 80s small block, and I hate it. I don't understand it, but I know all the ways to work around it. Honestly, I think I could time this thing just by vacuum alone and see if I can get it running better. So here's a little bit of wishful thinking. Manifold vacuum drops when you hit the throttle because you open the throttle plates, it decreases the vacuum in the manifold. In this case, that means it drops timing instead of gaining timing when you open the throttle. Wishful thinking, that may be why it was having such a hard time getting on the trailer, because it needs more timing, and when the throttle's open, it dropped timing to run poorly, therefore it ran poorly. Now, the other thing is this is going to the transmission. So that means the transmission's running off a ported source, which means it's only getting vacuum under partial throttle. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be. but methinks it's not how it's supposed to be. So before we go crazy with it, there are two other manifold vacuum sources, one on the intake and one on the back of that carburetor. Thinking we ought to tap into one of those and change the situation for the transmission, and then we should probably change the oil, and then we can think a little bit more about running it and maybe even trying to see if it'll actually drive. It's also occurring to me now that I have not checked the coolant, and it looks like some rats ate the reservoir. Jump back. There's coolant in there, and it's green, and it smells like coolant. I don't know who put this truck together. The guy I bought it from said he bought it for the dump bed. He drove it home, transmission went out. He was frustrated, got the transmission replaced, and then never really did anything with it. So I don't know. He definitely didn't do the motor swap. So there is a temperature sending unit down there in the head. We have the option at the valve cover, and we have the option in the intake, but right now there is no temperature gauge. And knowing if this thing overheats is going to be pretty important. Right now, the least invasive is probably up here or over here. The trick is, up here it doesn't tell us the coolant temperature in the engine, it tells us where it's passing the thermostat, which is ultimately what you want to know. But in your first trial startup run, if it gets blazing hot and the thermostat's not opening, well, you're not going to know. So I came up to get some lubrication, and it occurred to me that there are gauges and vacuum fittings that I found in this old garage. So I'm going to see if I can track down what we need. This whole drawer, that looks like one of them. Found a bunch of potentially useful doodads for vacuum fittings in here. Gauges, because if there's a temp gauge around here, we'll try to run it. So if you guys are new to this channel, we're wandering around the garage on a property that was also abandoned that I bought. The guy that owned it before me was sort of an amateur racer. There was a bunch of stuff in here, and I'm picking through what we sorted out. There's another video on the channel, try to link to it, about finding this place and sort of going through it. Gauges. All right, we got oil pressure. Maybe we'll run that too. All right, we got oil, we got temp, and we got amps. This thing is coming with, oh no. Oh wait, no, are we okay? Hang on. All right, we got some options. Well, we got one less now. One way or another, we should get something. I don't know if any of them work because we found them in this abandoned garage, but they might. We could test them if I had boiling water, but I don't. Which reminds me, I don't know what's hooked up in here. I guess we could try this real quick. So I can see the oil pressure's hooked up to something. I guess we can fire it up and see if it shows us anything. I don't know if I really want to know. Hey! Hey! Look at that, we got oil pressure and everything. Hot dog. Okay, that's cool. That gauge works. That's neat. And I know it's mechanical because I can see the little tuba dude. We're just gonna give this hell. I don't think in this engine compartment you can use too much. All that stuff, yep, give it some of that. Vacuum fittings. We got an exhaust leak, gonna have to tighten that soon. This one over here is gonna give it up eventually. So rarely have one of these that works. Usually break the top right off. So we're gonna see if we can break this thing off. That doesn't want to go nowhere. I'm gonna go that way. All right, I got something, I gotta work it back and forth. Gonna break it though. That's got some goo on it, which means this sending unit's gonna leak like crazy because I don't have any goo. We talked about the mosquitoes yet? I feel like I might have mentioned it already, but in case I didn't, they're hungry. Let me get you. Let me get you. Hang on. You just don't want it right now. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. It's not like I worked 11 hours before I got over here. It's fine. You just go on and do it your way. I'll work with you. It's your world. I'm just living in it. Get in there, pal. Alright, you may have noticed that this is feeding the wrong way, sort of toward the front of the car, which means in my future, I'm going to have to undo all of this to run through a hole in the firewall. But I made the full-grown adult decision to say, you know what? I don't want to lay down in a bunch of rat poop right now. I just don't want to do that. All right, gang. So this one's pretty bubbled up. Like, not terrible, but it's had an engine swap done by someone who maybe knew stuff, but maybe didn't. And then the guy actually gave me a receipt for the transmission. Believe it or not, it says it was rebuilt in 2021 for $600 American, and I usually pay like $2 to $3 grand for a transmission, so I don't know what the deal is with that. But also, they charged 200 bucks for install, but didn't hook up the vacuum right. I guess the moral of this story is, there's one thing to find a vehicle that's kind of in its original condition. The service manual will help you out, and then there's something like this where you gotta know enough to know where to look. Even if you don't know why it's wrong, you need to have that spidey sense of experience to be like, huh, something ain't right. Like this vacuum line going to a ported source. Something's not right. Well, the thunder is rolling in and the sun is going down fast, so I am out of time. I really wanted to run this thing to see if it gets hot, but I guess we're gonna go visit our friends at the O'Reillys, get oil. I need a plug for the ported vacuum. I need a better fuel filter. It'd be better to do this after changing the oil. We're actually having some luck here, so I shouldn't get hasty at this point. But I want to get hasty because what I'm seeing here, especially discovering that the timing is off based on just disconnecting the vacuum, this engine may be better than I think it is. A little rained out last night. We're about 6% more prepared than we were yesterday. Brought some RTV, got a fuel filter that's clear that won't kill you. It's the MicroGuard 33003, which is the 3/8 version, which is what we need for this. So we're gonna 86 that death trap. Also, remember to bring something to block off the ported vacuum. Let's do that before I lose it. Perfect. And in the smartest move of the day, I brought this Edel battery operated fan with its own solar panel charger. It's kind of a neat little doohickey. A, it'll get a breeze blowing, but also, like, the other thing about a breeze, man, it'll knock the mosquitoes a little bit off their path. They can't aim as good. So stop by the O'Reillys and grab one of these actual kick down doohickeys. It was right on the shelf in the performance section. Edelbrock. I also ordered a mountain of brake parts. It was very expensive, but after I did my 54 Chevy and just saw what time will do to brake parts, they're not like Marissa Tomei, man. They do not age well. So I've ordered many hundreds of dollars in parts at this point, so I'm kind of inclined to check the compression. It's probably the wrong order of things. The other part of me saying it ran, don't, ignorance is bliss, dummy. But I pulled the #1 plug wire, and gang, it goes way over there.
Wait, what?
Now, I'm not saying it won't work, but that's a Bubba alert if I've ever seen one. What that says to me is they basically got the distributor in 180 degrees out, and instead of figuring that out, they just moved the plug wires so that #1's over there. I guess that's one way to do it, gang. Traditionally, this would be #1 with the rotor pointing at #1 under the cap. We can fix it, I just don't think it's a priority, you know what I'm saying? Do I want to dig any deeper? Or do I just say that it ran? So I was part way through the filter change. I figured I'd cap off the fuel line by just closing it with some vice grips. I'm gonna see if it'll run until it runs out of gas, get the gas out of the carburetor, and then we will try to go ahead and check the old compression. Gonna regret that, I can feel all of it. All right, so here we go. #1 plug's looking a little tiny bit oil fouled, but not crazy. See what she does. I got the throttle jammed wide open. You gotta let the air in to make the thing do the no whammies, no whammies. 160. I'll take it. #2 plug. Looking the same, not bad. Oh, I just hit it, but it was 155. All right, #3. Looking good. All of it's looking good. Just gotta keep it up. Just under 150. 150. Cylinder #8 is at 155. Spark plug's looking pretty good. I'm working from the back to front on this side because I'm getting tired. I'm tired, and I remember I work from the hardest one to reach to the easiest one to reach, so that my most tiredest is my most easiest, so that I'm less inclined to get frustrated and break something. Time for number 5. Come on, baby. All right, we're over 150 again. You feeling it? I'm feeling it. This is where it gets nerve-wracking. I got 2 left. How we doing? Over 150. All we need is cylinder number 2. Come on, baby. Moment of truth. Everything, I don't even want to say it. There's the spark plug. Take a look, see. I can't, no whammies. Don't. I can't. Here we go. Whoa! 170. Gang, this may be the healthiest motor I own. All right, I am shocked at those compression numbers. I just expected less. You know, it's a bub it up truck. Figured it was a junkyard motor. But man alive, people love to hate on the 305, right? I don't get it. I feel like back in the day, somebody had a 350 and they poo-pooed on a 305, and then everybody started being like, yeah, they're terrible, blah, 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 terrible. No replacement for displacement. Well, now those guys are all LS guys pooping on the 350 that they used to be in love with. But I'll tell you what right now, if you got a 305 that's doing that kind of compression and you're gonna pull it out to put a 350 or an LS in it, call me. I'll give you $5 American and I'll come get it. I'll run it all day long, into the ground, for many, many years to come. Found this in the garage with an acorn in it. And I got my breakdancing cardboard. I'm gonna go ahead and give this oil an update. Look at that thing, coming in handy again. Really, flashlights with magnets are a game changer. There we go. It's not terrible. That could have been way worse. Nothing really on there. I don't know if there's a magnet on it or not. Well, gang, I came out from under the car changing the oil, and I got basically a scene from Twister right here. So we got a jet now. Just trying to shut her down the best I can. Well, that storm was something else. Came in out of nowhere, and boy howdy did we scurry. So she's all filled up with oil again, new fuel filter. I think it's actually time to try to get it to run and see if we can adjust that timing, but I don't know how much gas is in it. So we're gonna add some fresher fuel and some Marvel Mystery Oil, and that will help soak up some of the bad gas, or at least moisture that's in the bad gas. Hopefully it'll run better. Man, it is over 90 degrees and at least a million humidities. Not gonna lie, ladies and gents, it's a little ridiculous that this is what you have to do to fill up the fuel, but I will not pretend like I'm not amused by it. So we're gonna need a new solution here sooner than later. You know what I'm saying? We've got marginally better fuel in there with some Marvel Mystery Oil to make it more better. Now we're gonna go ahead and time this thing by vacuum. With any luck, we gotta try driving it. I don't know if it has brakes or not. I don't know if the transmission pulls. Really hope it does, because I'd love to get it out of this bright sun, because I'm melting like an ice cream. Be aware, you gotta stay hydrated. It is, I would say, legitimately dangerously hot out here with the humidity. So I actually do need to be careful, because we're out here by ourselves. Whew. All right. Actually, better. So timing by vacuum is a relatively simple concept. Vacuum gauge goes into the manifold source on the carburetor. We've loosened the distributor so that we can rock it back and forth. Same kind of looseness that you would do for any other timing, which is loose but not like wobbling around enough where you have to turn it. And then we're gonna fire the engine up, tune it to max vacuum, and then back it off just a fuzz. See how she does. All right, she's running, kind of. I disconnected the vacuum advance that was attached to the manifold, so I'm gonna go ahead and just advance it right off the bat, see how it does. Like 15. And change. Pretty good at 19. So she's holding up all right at she's right around 19 inches at idle. We have not tuned the carburetor yet at all. I also think these plug wires are shot. We haven't looked inside that cap. So maybe we'll do a little carb tune while we're at it. Going for max vacuum, backing it off a little bit more. If there's no more vacuum, then we bring it back in. All right. So I shut her down because the gauge isn't really registering. Now, we don't know the provenance of this gauge because we just found it in the garage. But it's 90 something degrees here and has been for hours. So most of this engine should be in the neighborhood of hot. So it shouldn't take long for it to heat up. And the sending unit is right there, and that's plenty hot. So I'm gonna pop the radiator cap. I'm gonna turn it back on and see if this is flowing. Coolant is not moving currently. Swap gauges here. Second gauge is reading. We're gonna get it running up to temp, hopefully. Yeah, timing's a little too advanced, I think. Just by the way it's starting, and I think that the carb probably is due for a clean out, just based on what just happened there. I don't believe it, but she's been idling at 160 for a while. Looks like the thermostat's doing its thing. Coolant's flowing, so I guess we'll top it off, put the cap back on, see how she does. I'm amazed. All right, I just shut her down. I got about as much oil on the headers as I did down the gullet, so she's smoking off the headers pretty bad, but that's fine. Motor's got a little bit of a miss. I'm thinking it's plug wires and maybe what's in that cap, because for real, like, these are ancient. They're all banded together, and I know that at least number 7 is sitting directly on the header. So, and has been because it's stretched tight. I do have a new set of plug wires, but for right now, I think this motor's healthy enough that we should see if it'll move, because if it doesn't really try to move under its own power, plug wires are not going to save us. She's not getting insanely hot, and as proof the gauge works, now that we've shut it off, it's jumped up, which is what you would expect. So yeah, let's close the hood, see if it'll fire up hot, see if it'll drive around the yard, and see if we can keep it from getting stuck. Moment of truth time. Moment of truth here, gang. It's actually not very uncomfortable in here. It does stink a little bit, but we can clean that right out. Mosquitoes are loving it in here though. So I guess this is the part I'm kind of nervous about. Brakes, I know we can fix. Engine, even if it was bad, I got a couple small blocks in the shop, and they're not terribly hard to replace a small block with a small block. Transmission, on the other hand, that has to go to the shop. So let's see how rebuilt is. Here we go. Uh-oh. I got nothing with the key. Did we just kill the starter? Dang it. Ruh-roh. Well, crap. She was running, but now I got nothing. I'm wondering if the alternator wasn't charging? I'm getting nothing. That's really unusual. Okay. So I've got the top-down battery charger tester with me. I actually lent this out all week to a friend at work whose battery was dying, and rather than actually fix the problem, he just used this all week. So we're down to 25%, but so if it has enough juice to crank, it's pretty great, because it will do the battery test, the cranking test, and the charging test. So let's test the battery real quick, like, make sure we didn't kill it. Low cranking amps, battery rating, 600. It says diminished battery performance, 61% state of health. Now it does say to test it when it's fully charged, but that makes me think it's not charging. Which, if you have a dead battery because of a dead alternator, that's only going to tell you you have a dead battery. But This thing does give you active current and will test your charging system. Beats the snot out of a regular jump pack, in my opinion. But it's running, so let's see if it'll drive. Do we have any brakes? Maybe? I don't know. I'm gonna find out. All right, let's see if she'll drop into reverse. Sure felt like it did. Sounds like it did. We got reverse, baby. Hey, and we got kind of some brakes. Neutral. We drive. Dudes. And we got a wasp in here. Let me get that guy out. All right, back in reverse. Guys, it's driving. Oh my God. Guys. I don't even know. I am so jazzed right now. It's not stalling, it's driving. I mean, obviously I can't get to second gear in my backyard. Plus the relief. I can't believe the brakes even kind of work, you know? I saw a mark on the drive shaft, so I'm not really sure if the bed rubs. Guys, we're driving things. Let's see if it'll start now. Some park. Don't know what's going on with that. Don't know what's going on with it at all. Maybe it's got a bad spot in the starter, I'm not really sure. I didn't try banging on it. I might have forgotten that the oil thingamadoodle was under the truck in my panic running away from the storm. And then in my excitement to try the truck out, I might have run it over a little bit. My bad. Anyway, this is insanely exciting. It runs pretty good. It moves both directions and it stops, kind of. So we are now, I feel like, in full-fledged move forward mode. All right, we gotta see if she'll fire up today.
It's Groundhog Time.
Had that weird starting issue out of nowhere when it was hot, which is a bit of a clue, but we also found the wires tucked behind the header. So the goal today, we gotta get out of this sun. We also need to get it on solid ground so that we can check the brakes out. So there's an old concrete patio. I'm gonna see if she'll drive herself onto it. So this should actually make everything significantly easier to work on. Also, as I was driving, I kind of heard the sound, and I think I noticed this the other day. This, on the drive shaft, I guess is rubbing right there. Oh no. Of course, is this cylinder leaking now when it wasn't? I swear it wasn't before. Crap. Ruh-roh. All right, we may have some issues here, but one thing at a time, I think. Let's get it running and driving, and we'll figure out what's going on with that. Start by cleaning it off. Neighbors are out with their toys, you see. Also extra crusty and dangerous, so we need to deal with that. If we get it running, I don't want to burn it down, you know? Remember to crack your nuts loose before you start checking. So there is some junk in here from grass being cut around it for a while, but I poked my head down in here with the flashlight and the brake pads are pretty new actually, and I can tell that this caliper is working enough because it's rubbed the rust off from just the back and forth we did. I mean, the other side's looking about the same, so my biggest concern over here is these old rubber hoses, which I have new ones. Trick is you gotta get to the line inside the frame and not break it. So sprayed some PP Blaster on those. We'll decide what we're gonna do. So I'm giving it the old once over here. I just pulled the front bearing out. It's actually in pretty good shape. It's a Timken. We'll go ahead and re-grease it and stick it back in. Just trying to get a general sense of the health of this stuff. Don't really know how hard it was driven before it was sitting, so that's quality bearing. It's in good shape. We'll jam it back in and just kind of keep making our way around. So we got a factory brake booster from the O'Reilly's. I think the worst part is gonna be, I don't know what the worst part is gonna be. Now I believe I should be able to just pop the master cylinder loose and pull it forward, and it should kind of dangle there, and that ought to be okay. I grabbed my brake dancing cardboard and put it down here on the floor because, well, the floor is gross and I don't have a vacuum and rat poo, and we got to get all up under there. Guys, I've never seen original wiring in such decent shape before. Guys, that stuff hasn't been bubbled with. We do have problems from the engine swap, you know, over on the power side, but the fact that nobody's been in here under the dash, this is a truck that never had a radio and nobody's bothered to get in here and do one. Like, this is a pretty good start and extraordinarily unusual for me. We're not in here for that. We got to get this brake lever rod situation removed. That's going to be hard to reach. So the pedal came loose unbelievably simply. So I guess our disaster is waiting for us somewhere out here. So I got it loose. What I don't know is if this is a different master cylinder. That rod's got to come out, right? Of course it does. Didn't ship with a rod, right? Right. He said no? Yes? I don't know. Loose, but the rod is not coming out, which feels crazy to me. Ah, there we go. Whew. Ha. Ha. My world was at stake. This was going to defy everything I knew to be true. So the master cylinder is going to bolt to this thing from here and henceforth. Don't have a vacuum line, so we have to go get one of those because that's kind of required for vacuum boosted brakes. You can't use fuel line, gang. It just because it's a hose and it's black doesn't mean that you can use it for anything. So we've got ourselves a little situation. Can eyeball this one from some experience here. This is the push rod that comes out of the booster. So you attach this to the brake pedal, just like we used to have. The pedal pushes this in. This used to go into the master cylinder, now goes into the booster. That adds some vacuum operated diaphragm juice to help the foot there, and that pushes this rod into the master cylinder. Master cylinder will bolt flush right onto this thing. The issue we have here, and I've come across this before, and I'm not sure why there's different versions and different models. So this push rod slides, come on one hand, that far into the master cylinder. This push rod slides about this far into the master cylinder. What that means is for this thing to engage, it has to protrude about that far before it's even going to hit the piston inside the master cylinder. So we're going to have to cut this rod down and make a spacer. For some reason, there's different kinds of master cylinders. Sometimes they just give you spacers. I've run into this with power booster kits before. I ended up having to make one on the Model T project. So we have been here before. All right. Let's see how we do here. I need the master cylinder to be on the right side. This side over here. This guy to karate over there. I need these wires not to be right where they are there. What we got going on? That's something. That's something. Let's get a holder on her nut on there. Unfortunately, these are not the same size. So we gotta head back to the other shop and punch this out. It's okay. Could use a little more water. It's deadly out here. We'll get some vacuum line while we're there and some other things that even if I say them now, I'm gonna forget by the time I get there. We are headed back to the ranch. It was over an hour to make this hole a 1/16 inch larger. I thought it was gonna take 2 seconds with a step bit. Nah, man, smoked 2 of them, didn't make a dent. Ended up having to go after it with a rotary file. I don't know what this is, but it's harder than Chinese algebra, man. All right, this doesn't fit. I might lose my mind. Oh, it fit. Oh, my goodness. That was so much effort for something so dumb. Don't know why it didn't fit from the factory. You're all a mess. Everybody neat and pretty? Well, on with the show. All right, this little doodabber I made for the spacer inside the master cylinder. It's 3/8 bolt, cut down. I'm not gonna give you a size because, well, I just don't know what it's supposed to be, so I don't want to steer you wrong. But the idea is it'll slide in there, be relatively flush with the end. All right, so the idea is here, hopefully, this will slide in, and if the spacer's too long, it's gonna start to activate the master cylinder and it will never release, which will make it impossible to bleed brakes and kind of keep your brakes constantly under tension. You don't want that. But we can space it out with washers if we suspect that's the case, which I don't yet. You can kind of tell if the top is off. You can see the piston move a little bit once you cinch the bolts down. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give it a try, see what happens, and then we'll assess problem solving when we discover there is indeed a problem. Just trying to explain it to you. If you're interested in this stuff, especially brake adapting for power brakes, check out the 54 Chevy series. There's a lot on brakes in there. Got the booster on, run a vacuum line to the back of the carburetor. They had a little pipe plug in it. We fixed that by putting in one of these whoop-de-doos. Pretty standard, back of the Edelbrock carburetor. Run it over to your brake booster, 11/16 vacuum line. Gang, I am pert near out of daylight, but I think we fixed the boogered up wiring. We at least rerouted it. Don't tuck your wiring behind your exhaust, man. Did find that that exhaust is really loose. Hopefully, if we can tighten it up, we can get rid of the exhaust leak on this side. But right now, I gotta clean up because I don't have any light over here, and all of this will be lost to the darkness and whatever storms pop up tomorrow, because they've been bad. All right, another day at work, another evening back at it. So we got the brake booster installed last night, and I think I got the wiring squared away, at least the worst of it. I have this tubifer back here on the frame because I believe that's what holds the bed off the frame and keeps this from rubbing. Guy I bought it from said there was one over here, but he removed it because he didn't know what it was there for. Obviously, we're going to come up with a better solution. I did give this thing a shake, and like the entire frame shake, so it's not like the bed's rocking on there, so I'm not worried about it like shifting side to side too much, but we could still build a little bracket that lands it and centers it and holds it, because the whole point is to throw some weight in this joint. But the goal is to try to like drive it around, get it out of first gear, maybe experimentally load it up with stuff, see how it works, you know? All right, we're about to hook this ground back up and do a little bit of a smoke test. Everything was just rerouted around the outside of the header because everything had been jammed between the header and the block, which I don't care if that's how it was on whatever car this came out of. There's a better way. All right, so the smoke test is just that. The other trick is, if we see a spark, which we don't, if you see a spark, then there's definitely a connection that's hot, also known as a battery drain. Gotta tell you, this is a shame because that's tight, but this adapter system is less than ideal, but that battery is brand new, so a little bit of a heartbreaker. Better than a dead battery, I suppose. So officially the smoke test is on. I don't think we're smoking. We'll check inside. For those of you wondering, the smoke test is just what it sounds like. We're looking for smoke. Basically electrical fire smoke. So guess we'll see if she'll fire up. Probably ought to mash that once. Come on, buddy. Dead again. This is what happened the other day. Nothing happening at all. Tapping the battery terminal to see if anything's super hot. Give the ground a jiggle. there we go, positive to negative right on the battery. Nothing. So my thinking is the negative is not connecting to the battery anymore. We already have a problem with this adapter. So pull it off, see if we can get it to seat better, but we may have killed this brand new battery. I replaced the ground strap. This is a whole dent now, and we're running back to where we were. We're gonna use the old headlights as a test because we were getting zero anything, right? So when you have nothing, no headlights, no nothing, no whatever, check your battery connections first because they're the easiest to get to and they are a likely culprit. Not the only option, but they're up there on the list. I see headlights. All right, see if it'll turn. Yeah, it'll turn. It definitely sounds like the timing's a little too advanced the way it struggled like that, but we can fix that. Much mo better. Let's see if I can bang a little air into this very rotten tire. I'm very curious to see if the brake booster works. All right, we're gonna do the first test on the brake booster. In theory, when I start the car, the pedal should move downward. Uh-oh, that's good news. I want to take it on a test drive, but we got a taillight delete situation going on here. Fortunately for us, the other bed that we got has taillights in it. Wonder if we can get into those. Seriously? Torx? Who was the overachiever? Because I don't think Chevrolet did that back in '73. All right, we're gonna do a little test run and put this thing to work. You guys have seen the weather. It's been ferocious. So I have a lot of branches down all over this property. So I'm gonna drive this thing around, pick them up, and we're gonna see if we can dump them somewhere in a pile off yonder ways. Just as a, you know, experiment. All right, she didn't unload herself quite like I'd hoped, but it's not just a novelty act. I think we do have a lot of dirt to move around here, and we'll be doing it in relatively small quantities, and I think that's gonna be pretty helpful. I think making the ladder rack removable is gonna be more helpful so I can get my skid steer to dump right into the back, but that ladder rack is also gonna be useful for long lumber, so there is a lot of utility yet. I just can't help myself, and I wanna see if she'll actually drive. I don't really have tail lights, but who's counting? So what do you say we give it a try? See if it'll actually drive after 10 years. Like first, second, maybe even third gear, if we're feeling lucky on those tires. All right, it's gonna be the first time on the road in over 10 years on horrible tires and bad gas. This is a terrible idea. Terrible idea, but I can't help it. Second gear. Big miss. Third gear. We got gears, baby. We got gears. She's a little smoky. She's a little smoky. That's okay. Feel like the brakes are dragging a little bit, which they might be. Power steering pump for sure. Oh my god, yeah. It's full of fluid, but it ain't doing nothing. wouldn't say she's running great, but she's got those old plug wires, old gas. I mean, she's not moving. Yeah, she starts to drag as soon as I let off the gas, so I'm wondering if that's the just kill it? She's holding at 160. All right. That may not have been much, but that is the first time this thing has been on the road in over 10 years. It's actually running, it actually shifts, it stops, and the dump bed works. I'm not unimpressed. So our plans for this thing are full-blown daily driver work truck. We've got a lot we need to do with it, and that's not an exaggeration. So we got a ways to go before we get there, but we're not that far off. We're gonna talk money on this whole purchase here in a second, but if you've made it this far, please consider subscribing or hitting that like button. I know it's childish and everybody wants you to, but that's because it actually does help. It helps support the channel, it helps YouTube promote the channel, and it helps YouTube promote this particular video. So if it's been entertaining or informative or whatever, you know, it's free. As I said at the beginning of the video, this truck was listed as is 1,500 American dollars, and that really was the cheapest C10 on Marketplace at the time. Included in that price was this whole front end, this bed, and a set of doors, which they're actually in pretty darn good condition. As much as I do love this color, I just don't see a planet where we're trying to church up that work truck. So if these go for sale, what's the value on all this? I mean, I feel like on a bad day, it's 500 bucks for all of it, like just get rid of it price. I don't know if you guys think that's fair, but that would make the truck $1,000. And the little trailer it's sitting on, I thought maybe that could help move my little skid steer around, or the mini excavator, potentially. He had that listed for 225 American dollars. Then we got over there, he had a couple of car trailers for sale. This one was listed for 1,500 American dollars. That included this battery, this winch, both working, the ramps, and some chains. And he threw in this seat just for fun. So we ended up striking a deal for all of this and the trailer, plus the truck, all in at $2,700. And the man towed this truck on that trailer about 60 miles, all included. I towed the other trailer with my other C10 daily driver, got it all back here, and it stormed. And if all things go well, the plan is to tow this thing with this thing. So let me know if you think I'm a genius or an idiot or got a deal or not down in the comments. And if you like this stuff, consider subscribing, because we're gonna take this thing from where it is now and turn it into a daily driver in pretty short order. Good luck on your projects out there, and we will see you next time on Between the Sharks.